It's a great pleasure to introduce our guest Shailaja Menon, who's a yoga teacher, a writer, a speaker and an editor of a health magazine. Namaste Shailaja.
Namaste.
She's a Malayali who grew up in Coimbatore and settled in Malaysia. She has been teaching yoga for the past 16 years and runs her own center known as Mat and Beyond Yoga Studio. Why did you take up yoga?
I think even as a child, I was searching for yoga. I remember as a child, I used to feel very restless. I didn't feel very peaceful.
Okay.
And I used to be plagued by headaches. Even in college, like before an exam, I used to have these tension headaches. And I always knew within me that there was a better way to live, that there was some path through which I could get past the stress, deal with anxiety, and just live a better life, a more peaceful life. And that path drew me to yoga. I actually searched out a meditation class even when I was in college. I remember my mother and I, we went to a meditation class. So I was always searching in my youth for yoga.
What inspired you to continue with this practice all these years?
When I went to my first yoga class, more than 17 years ago, it was like a light bulb was switched on. I truly fell in love with the practice. And I truly fell in love with the way I felt at the end of the yoga class. There was such a sense of release of anxiety, release of stress, and such a sense of ease in my body and mind. And that feeling drew me back to yoga time and time again. I never wanted to lose that. And over a period of time, that really became my anchor, a place I went back to every time, especially the times when things were not going so well, especially the times that I was not agitated. Yoga really became my path to find myself, to find my center, to feel more grounded, to feel more peaceful, and I won't ever give that up.
Now let us talk about yoga. What is yoga?
So yoga is different things to different people, yeah? But when we look at yoga in the context of the scriptures, some of the most famous names associated with yoga are Sage Vyasa and Patanjali. Yeah? So in Sage Vyasa's context, yoga is actually samadhi. So even if we don't want to discuss samadhi, yoga actually offers us this path, yeah, towards the state of mind where we're more centered, we're more grounded, more peaceful, and basically less suffering. Yeah, it gives us the path to connect to ourselves, to really be more aware of ourselves, be more aware of our actions, be more aware of our patterns of thinking, our patterns of behavior, and it truly offers us a mirror, yeah, through which we see ourselves clearly.
As a viewer, why should I take up yoga? What are its benefits?
So we talked about Sage Vyasa earlier. But if you see Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, in the second verse, he talks about Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, yeah, which basically means it offers you a path where the constant waves and fluctuations of the mind, yeah, which I loosely describe as all these emotional upheavals that we go through, all the restlessness, all the agitations, all these constant ups and downs that we experience, all that can get stilled and we experience a more even temperament, yeah, where we were not constantly tossed between these waves of happiness and sadness and depression and anxiety on one end and total euphoria on the other. We just find this way to be more balanced. On a physical level, I think the benefits are very, very obvious and they appear quite easily. Like the body becomes more flexible, the body becomes stronger, you get more coordinated, you become more balanced. So all those physical benefits of the practice are apparent very early on in the practice. On a mental level, we become more stable, we become more balanced, we are more equilibrium, we don't get agitated so easily. I have a lot of my students who come back to me and they tell me that in fact their family members remark that they find such a change in them, that they don't get so easily reactive. So really the stretch of yoga is from that state of reactivity and restlessness and agitation towards that place of being more calm, more centered, more grounded, more stable, and in that state of equanimity.
These are some of the comments I often hear. I am too stiff, I am too old, I should have started doing yoga at a younger age. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so as a teacher, I often hear all these comments as well. I have people call me to inquire about my classes, and then they tell me all these things as well. So I always say there is no age limit to the practice. And it's, of course, it's great to grow up knowing that connection, being aware of that connection between your mind, your body, and breath. Yeah, so it's great for kids to take up the practice. It's great to grow up with yoga as part of your life. But the time that we enter into the practice is different for all of us. Yeah, I myself entered, to me, I entered it at a very late age. Like I was, I think 26 when I entered the practice. Whereas if you see my younger son, he started at the age of 4. So the timing is really not important. What is important is that we step into the practice. That is more important. Sometimes we have no control over the timing, but at whatever time yoga enters into our life, I think we should just take the opportunity and step into the practice. In fact, the older we get, the more important it is. Yeah, like when you say people get stiff, right?
Yes.
As we grow older, it is very natural that our joints get stiff. So if you do the yoga practice, you actually remain more flexible, the joints remain more flexible, the muscles are more supple, and we remain more active as we get older. So if you ask me, it is more important to step into the yoga practice as we grow older, because when we are young, we are naturally flexible, we are naturally supple, yeah? But as we grow older, we lose that, and then the yoga practice becomes even more indispensable. To me, the quality of your life really depends on the quality of your health. So yoga is an indispensable part of our lives. So there is no age limit. The limits are all what we set. Yeah, our mind is the limit, if you ask me.
Does one have to be a vegetarian to do yoga?
The first teacher that I went to, I never met him, but I learned through his books, Swami Sachidananda. He used to say that we just step into the practice wherever. It doesn't mean that we have to give up something. It doesn't mean that we have to abstain from anything. Wherever we are, however we are, we step into the practice. And once we go into the practice and engage with the practice sincerely, then whatever changes are necessary for us, they come about naturally. So we don't have to force ourselves to give up anything or do anything that we wouldn't otherwise do. But through the process, actually, we get refined. Yeah? And we do whatever is necessary for us to evolve along the way. Yeah?
Shailaja, how is asana practice different from other forms of exercises?
That's a very good question, Minnie. These days, we see people running on the beach and then they'll stop and do some stretching.
Yes.
And then we think that is an asana practice.
Yes.
Yeah, so asana is viewed as a very physical practice. But what makes asana different from even gymnastics or some other form of deep stretching is the attention that we give. What makes asana practice different is the mind. In asana practice, there is an awareness of the mind. There is a direction of attention to the body, to the muscles, to the energy, which is very different from just simply stretching the body and just trying to feel only whether we have touched our toes or only whether we have twisted enough on a very physical level.
Yes.
So asana practice involves breathing practices, so an awareness of the breath. It involves awareness of the mind, our thought patterns, our reactivities. In fact, asana is life. The same attitudes that we take to our everyday life can be reflected and seen in our asana practice. In fact, when we don't get an asana,
Yes.
when we can't do something, we feel a restriction.
Yes.
How do we react to it?
Yeah.
Do we get angry? Do we get frustrated? Do we get really disappointed and give up? Or do we try and we do our best? All that is reflected in asana.
Very true, very true.
So we can actually see ourselves very clearly, our mental attitudes in our asana practice. So we learn about ourselves by really watching ourselves, by really observing ourselves, by being in awareness of ourselves. And that is how an asana practice is so different from just a very shape-based stretch practice.
Shailaja, what is your inspiration to teach, speak and write on yoga?
I think we all need to connect to ourselves.
Yes.
This is something that we're not taught. Even as kids, we are not really guided to connect to ourselves. We're always connecting to the outside world. Even as kids, we are taught that life is about doing well in school, doing well in sport, going to college, getting a good degree, getting a job, relationships. It's always the outside world.
Very correct.
So yoga really offers us this unique path where we really connect to ourselves. And what is it that we know of ourselves? What we know of ourselves is the body, is the breath, is our patterns of thinking, the mind, the thoughts, the reactivities. So yoga offers us that huge ability to find ourselves, be centered, be grounded, and really to act out of our own inspiration. Like we all have an inner voice, we all have inner guidance, but we seldom connect to it. We're always acting out of pressure, either from society or from children. As children we work out of pressure from the parents.
Yes.
It's always or peer pressure from the friends. It's always from other people.
Yes.
But once we are connected to ourselves, once we find that inner connection, then we really live a very authentic life, acting out of our own inner inspiration. And that is what really motivates me to talk to people, because it offers people this unique ability to really find themselves, be grounded in themselves, and to live from that space authentically. And that's the only way we can live in joy.
What is your unique perspective on yoga?
So I began my yoga practice in Coimbatore with integral yoga.
Okay.
And then for the last 12 to 13 years, I have actually been learning with my teacher Manoj Kaimal in Malaysia.
Okay.
And the practice is really about moving from a very shape-based, body-based practice towards a state of mind. If you see the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, again the invitation there is about Ananta Samapatibhyam, where we are released from a very limited, conditioned idea of the body towards that vast, limitless expanse that we are. And that is what the yoga practice is about. And that is where the practice takes us. So that is what I offer through my teachings for my students to not just be so identified with body, with race, with weight, with hair color, and all those other limited identities that we are so bound to, and to just get some release from that, and to be able to feel a sense of connection to that vastness and that limitlessness that we also are. From shape to state. That is what the yoga practice offers.
Can you demonstrate a few asanas to explain further shape to state concept?
Yes, Minnie, I can. Would you like to join me in
not
a
at
few
all, not at all.
asanas? So before we go into the asana practice, it's important to keep in mind a few primary principles of the practice. So in the Manasa Yoga style that I teach, the first word of the first line of the sutras is atha. Atha simply means being present. In yoga class, we use the tools of the body and the breath to be present. In our everyday lives, if we notice, we actually live very disjointed lives. Our bodies are someplace, but our minds are somewhere else. And technology hasn't helped either. You just have to look around when you go out to a restaurant. There might be 4 people in a family together, a husband, a wife, and 2 kids. And each one will be on their own gadget. So physically everybody is together, but mentally they're all in different places. So this concept of atha, or being present, is really one of the most important principles to life itself. The very experience of life is intensified, is deepened, and we explore the subtleties and nuances of life when we are present. In yoga class, it begins with the body. So when my students first come to class, it's quite interesting to note that left hand, right hand, everything is a jumble. But as we continue connecting to the body, as we deepen our awareness of the body, as we be more present to the body, then everything begins to fall in place. The coordination between the mind and the body and the breath happens naturally. So this concept of atha is primary not just to the practice of yoga, but to life itself. Because life is simply a sequence of vinyasa, a sequence of asanas. So when we go into an asana, it is important to not just be caught up to the limited shape of the body, but to be able to explore that shape and connect to the limitlessness and formlessness that we are. And this principle is applicable in all the asanas that we go through. So let us start with an asana practice. To begin with child pose, just go on to your hands and knees. If you have any problem with your knees, you can always roll up a towel or a mat and keep it below to support your knees. So now we're going to begin the practice, and the most important thing is to really be present to the body. So bringing your awareness to your body and really connecting to your body, feeling the pressure of your palms on the mat, feeling the pressure of the knees on the mat. Become aware of your spine, become aware of your head, become aware of your breath, and slowly, in coordination with the breath, begin to move the spine. So as you inhale, arch your spine looking up. As you exhale, round your spine looking down. So just doing a few rounds of this to get into that flow of the body, the mind, and the breath. Moving rhythmically with the breath. Inhale, arch your spine, look up. Exhale, round your spine, looking back. Slowly moving into downward facing dog position. So just pressing your toes on the mat, lift the knees off, moving your hips back. From here, staying here for a while, focus on your breath. And then slowly release the heels to the floor. Okay, so another important principle of Manasa Yoga is about Tanu or letting go. Okay, Tanu simply means thinning. So what blocks the experience of the present moment? It seems like a very simple principle, right? Be present to the moment. But we realize that as we try to be present, there is something that blocks our experience. And that is usually some unhappiness, some past memory, some grudge that we carry, or some decision that we have to take. There are so many things that distract us from the present moment. So this concept of Tanu or thinning or releasing whatever is not necessary to the present moment, it becomes very important. So as we begin the practice, one of the most important things is to sit with the spine tall, shoulders drawn back, chest open, heart open, neck in line with the spine, face soft and relaxed. This concept of heart open is really important. In fact, the whole of life can be about keeping our hearts open. It's very easy to keep the heart open when things go well. But when people don't react the way we would like them to, when situations don't turn out the way we would like them to, so when we face unhappiness and disappointment and betrayals, then it is not so easy to keep the heart open. And that is where the yoga practice comes in. And through asanas, we strive to embody the state that we wish to have. So to begin with back bends, which embody this heart open concept. So let's try and work into Ustrasana, the camel position. So come on to your knees. If you haven't done yoga before, it's a good idea to start with one hand. So keep your heels up, place your hand on your heel and keep the pelvis moving forward as you stretch back through the left hand. If you are a more advanced practitioner, you could try the same position with both your hands back. And if you would like to try a deeper position, you can roll back, toes pointing back, and then release your hands onto the heels as the pelvis moves forward. So these are some of the variations that you could try with Ustrasana. And from here, we move into another deep back bend called Kapotasana. So bring the right knee forward and try and adjust your body so that you sit evenly through the hips. From here, you bend the left leg back, take hold of your big toe, and then see whether you can bring the elbow close to your body as you rise up into Kapotasana. So as you stay here, do not work on trying to get the head towards your toes and be totally focused on that. While we first work with the anatomy of the body, then we work towards experiencing the state, experiencing the expansiveness at the heart space, the openness at the heart space, the ability to accommodate, the receptiveness as we connect to that state. Slowly moving back into down dog. Bring the knees down as we prepare for the next position. Now we talk about the state of strength. At many times in our lives, we find ourselves feeling very weak, helpless, unable to control circumstances and situations. And then we call upon that capacity of strength. So if mental strength is what we require, we work towards it through the body by embodying states of strength, asanas of strength. So let us work now into plank, which is one of the most important poses to work with to strengthen the wrists, the shoulders, the core, the abdominal muscles. So come on to your hands and knees. And it's important first to protract your shoulders, really engage the upper back muscles, the serratus in particular, and then from this position of engagement, slowly step the right leg back, engaging your abdominal muscles, left leg back, and really connect to the body. Feeling the strength as your upper back is engaged, your abdomen is engaged, the front thighs are lifting up, the heels are drawing back. And then slowly come down. If you are a more advanced practitioner and would like to try out slightly more challenging positions, you can also work into a variation of the plank, which is the side plank. So from here, lifting up through the knees, moving to your side, and then you can lift your right arm up and look up at the thumb, holding the body steady, keeping the hip lifting, connecting to the state of strength. Slowly coming down, and then if you still feel like you want some more challenge, you can try lifting your leg too. So from here, working up into side plank and then seeing if you can lift your leg up, lifting up through your hip and getting the leg up, holding strong. Slowly coming down and going down on your knees, working into Bakasana, the crow pose. So staying here with the knees on your upper arms and then slowly working towards shifting weight towards the front of the hands. So from the feet, just moving forward slightly. Or if you want some more challenge, you can work into Kaundinyasana. So moving into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the down dog position, step the right leg forward and then take your right arm inside and out. And then shifting weight, slowly release the right leg forward and rising. Moving back into Adho Mukha Svanasana and preparing for the next position. Okay, so toxins and detoxifying is a very popular word these days. So we all know that we build up toxins in the body through undigested foods, through many other ways. But similarly, what we may not realize is that we build up mental toxins as well every day. So all the little irritations, all the frustrations, all the anger, the complete bitterness that we have sometimes, all that builds up into mental toxins in the body. And twists are a great way to consciously release them, not just at the physical level, but from the mental level as well. Yeah, so let's try some twists. So please come onto your knees again and then moving into downward facing dog position, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and from here step your left leg forward. Yeah, so we're moving into Parivrita Pasvakonasana. So bring your right arm across your body and you can place your palms into a Namaste. Keep the left elbow drawing back, the right front thigh lifting strong, and feel the energy of the asana. Feel the twist, feel the release. And for those of you who are more experienced, you can release the right hand to the floor and then take the left arm over the head as you lengthen out through the left arm. So the left arm and fingers reaching forward, feeling the twist intensify as your left knee moves into that right upper arm. And then for those of you who are more advanced, you can move into the Kaundanyasan variation of the twist. So you can slowly bring your hands across and then release your body onto your hands as you move into a twist. Okay, there's also a Parsvakonasana bind that we can try. So moving into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog position, just move your left leg forward into a lunge. Yeah, so beginners can drop their right knee to the floor so that they get more steady. And then we move into a deep twist where you try and take your elbow. Okay, try and bring as much of your elbow across, keeping your side of your knee as high on your upper arm as possible. And from here, we try and move the arm below the thigh to a bind. Now beginners can stay here if you can manage to hold your grip. You can also use a strap or a towel to help you hold your hands. And then if you feel more comfortable, you can press down through your right toes and lift the knee off, really engaging, feeling the quadriceps engage as the right leg straightens, keeping the left shoulder, the left side of your rib cage, the left side of the body opening into the twist. So now we move into forward bends. In the Yoga Sutras, the second chapter, Patanjali talks about Kriya Yoga, Tapas, Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana really is a very beautiful concept about surrender, surrendering to the universe. And forward bends help us embody that state. So let us move into variations of Hanumanasana to help us embody the concept of surrender. So going on to your hands and knees, and then just step your right leg through. Okay, so here try and keep your spine as long as possible. Yeah, the general rule of thumb is to try and not round your spine. Yeah, so try and keep the heart open, lengthening forward through the spine, really feeling the engagement of the quadriceps as the back of your legs begin to open, keeping the heart open, keeping your awareness along the back of your legs, feeling the gentle release along the back of your legs, keeping your breath soft, connecting to that state of surrender, releasing into the asana. And now slowly, for those of you who are more experienced, you can try moving that right heel forward, walking your hands forward into that full split variation, walking your hands back, trying to square your hips as much as possible, keeping your sternum lifting, the shoulders drawn back, chest open, heart open, and then if you feel comfortable, you can lift your arms up into a namaste. And then slowly as you exhale, releasing forward into a surrender. Feeling that state of surrender, of release to the universe. Slowly walking your hands back, pressing down, drawing the heel back and coming up. Okay, so now moving into Upavista Konasana. So spreading your feet as wide as possible and coming to the front of your sit bones. Yeah, so it's very important to connect to that concept of coming to the front of your sit bones, because that keeps your spine long. As long as we're sitting to the back of the sit bones, the lower back tends to round. Yeah, so trying to come to the front of your sit bones, keeping your spine long, and then just walking forward. Yeah, so if you've just started the yoga practice, just come forward as much as you can, keep the spine long and stay. Yeah, so from here you can always close your eyes, focus on your breath. And then if you're more advanced and you want to go deeper, you can always walk your hands forward and then just find the point where you can stay comfortably. Yeah, so it can be many points. You can either keep your elbows down here or you can fold all the way forward. And then whenever you feel ready, okay, slowly walking back, bringing your hands back and rising up. Okay, so we're just going into a section of inversions. Inversions are very beneficial to the body and to the mind. They release a lot of the blood from the legs. These are considered some of the key asanas in yoga. So we're just going to go through a series of asanas here, moving into halasana, the plow pose, and then from there going into shoulder stand, sarvangasana, and from there rising up into a sarvangasana variation with padmasana, and from there just dropping down into urdhva dhanurasana, the upward bow position, and rising up from there.